I'm going to hit clear because this is hopefully, I don't know, it's gone. There we go. So I slap my data in just like you guys did. It's L1, L2, there it is right there. Scrolling all the way down. The important thing to make sure you got here is to make sure that you have the same number of items in L1 as L2, because what we're about to do will give you an error if you don't. It'll get upset with you and say error dim mismatch, which you may have gotten back in 105 actually, or 111 if you ever tried to do a scatter plot. So what I'd like to do first is I'd like to ask you, what is the average number of texts sent
11.
by our class? What is the average number of texts sent by our class? And it's I heard 2 11s. I love that. I love that. So everybody, if you would, use your TI to calculate the average number of texts sent by our class. Okay. So, well, I'm on the phone with you. How do I do this? Stat. Calc. 1 bar stats?
No, 2 bar stats.
There's only one variable. The one variable is the number of texts we're sending. I know it seems like we should use 2 vars. It's really still only one variable, x, number of texts sent. Don't confuse the number of columns with the number of variables. That second column isn't a variable, it's how many of the first column there are. Is that okay? Yeah, okay. So 1 bar stats. What do I press now? Enter. Okay. Wait a minute. It's telling me that there were 14 students in the class today.
You
didn't count for all the others.
8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Why does it say 14?
Because it's only counting the one on size.
If you just type 1 bar stats, it assumes that your data is where? It's just that it lists 1 column, which is where your data is, right? That means it's ignoring L2. Why is L2 important? Because it tells you how many of each of those we should count. So in other words, when you just press 1 bar stats enter, it assumes that 1 person sent 0 text, 1 person sent 1, 1 person sent 2, 1 person sent 3, 1 person sent 4, 1. In other words, it ignores the fact that 8 people sent 0.
How do you change it?
That's a good question. How do you let the TI know that's wrong? It's actually a pretty straightforward fix. Go get your 1 bar stats back again, but don't press enter right away. Don't press enter right away. Start by just starting here. Now, go second function button.
How did you get to 1 bar stat?
Same as we did before. Stat calc.
Oh, okay.
Yep, same as before. That command is the same. What you're putting after the command is going to change. Second function button, number 1. You feel a comma coming on, and that's exactly what you want. You want to put L1, then hit the comma button, which is right above the number 7, and then give it an L2.
How do you put the L2?
Second 2. Yep. You have 6 different lists and 6 different buttons to call your lists from. Ready for this? Press enter.
Oh,
Aha!
7.32.
What's the average number of texts sent by the class? 7 point. Look at this. This makes me happy right here. This means it counted you all. This means it counted you all. Fair enough? I have one last question for you. I was like, really? Seriously?
No,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, my friend. I'm kidding. It's been a long day. You guys have been awesome. Awesome questions, awesome commentary. Should we use the average to describe what's going on in this class?
No.
Lots of votes for no. Why?
Because we have a lot
Oh!
more than the end.
Oh! So some of you may have scrolled to the bottom and realized the median was 4. Some of you may have looked at the data and realized, is this bell-shaped data? Is this bell-shaped data? Because remember, this is going back a week now. When you have bell-shaped, when you have bell-shaped data, the average, the median, the mode, they're all the same. But when you have skewed data, your average and your median, your mode are very, very different in general. So why don't we take a look at this data real quick as we answer this question. Can we make a histogram of this data? Say hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So you can just put graph. The problem is it's set to the last window, and we've got a different range now. So here's what I recommend we do, friends. I recommend we do this. Second y equals, just like we did with the weight loss graph, second y equals, plot 1. It's going to be the same, except this. This needs to be L2. Your data is still in L1, but you need to get L2 in frequency, because that's where your frequencies are. So just arrow down to that. Arrow down to that, put an L2 there. Now go zoom 9 again. Zoom 9, there. Is that bell-shaped data?
No.
No, that's kind of like a half of a bell or a third of a bell. It's actually not bell-shaped at all. So, can we use this beautiful empirical rule? No, because what's the big if?
If it's bell shaped.
Bell shape.
If you have bell-shaped data, then you can. What if you don't have bell-shaped data? Well, there's stuff you can do. I don't want to focus on it too much in class because very often you don't have extreme bell-shaped data like this. We can use Elise's percentages. We can say that, for example, approximately 1/3 of the class sent 0 texts. 8 out of 25, right? That's about 1/3 of the class. So roughly 1/3 of the class, the 33rd percentile was 0. We can say that. We'll get into that on Monday with you. But when you don't have bell-shaped data, generally you put your hands up and go, okay, I'm not going to do anything else right now. If you do have bell-shaped data though, which we will start on Monday, we'll have one more set of data to play with this, with Facebook Friends data. Due to an article I read over the summer. So we'll get back into that Monday. But that's all for today. Yeah? Cool? We spent a lot of time in 2 data sets. That makes me happy. I like spending time, quality time in this stuff. Quality time. Quality. And, well, it's quantity too by the number of minutes. But
I don't get a comma.
you don't get a comma. You, what? What? Huh?